right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Jay, everybody's in?
We are in.
We're in. All right, let's get started. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Wisconsin FLL Coaches Zoom call. My name is Craig Peterman, a volunteer at BadgerBots, and we've got our head referee, or one of our two head referees, Jay Church, and a head judge advisor for the state, Brian Farrell. And so we'll go through all the things that need to be gone through. And then, of course, take any questions for any of us, or if you have any other issues to discuss amongst the group. As you came in, you likely heard that this Zoom call is being recorded. We do have a YouTube channel and actually get between 60 and 80 views, depending on I'm not sure what it depends on actually, but I'm just glad that people are using that as a resource if they can't make the Monday evening call. Obviously, the benefit of participating live is that you can ask any of your questions. All right, so let's just jump right into it. And a lot of what I'm going to cover was actually in the newsletter. I just want to kind of emphasize the most timely information, news will be in the Monday newsletter. The reason for that is because that is the avenue where we reach every coach that is registered. We have the Slack channel, of course. We have other web pages, but at least we know the coaches are getting the information, assuming we have an appropriate email, and they are automatically signed up to get it. So that's why we use the newsletter as our primary source of information, and we will continue to do so. After it's in the newsletter, then we'll use some of the other avenues, such as Slack. Um, or whatever venues we have in order to communicate, we're going to try and use the newsletter first. So thank you all for understanding that. If you did see the newsletter today and had a chance to read it, the next step in the registration process is to sign up for a regional tournament. And that process will begin next week, most likely on Tuesday. Forgive me, I'm not, is that the 22nd, I think? So that's the
23rd.
date that we're, excuse me?
Should be the 23rd for Tuesday.
Whatever the Tuesday is, that's what it's going to be. The newsletter comes out on Monday. We'll have the Zoom call, and then we'll open up that registration website. And for those of you that are hearing about this for the first time, this is a separate registration process than getting your team registered at firstinspires.org. Hopefully, our process is considerably easier than doing that. If it's not easier, then we've got some work to do. Nonetheless, if you want to participate in a regional, once the window opens, the website will be in the newsletter as well as opened up to actually be used. Every coach, or excuse me, not every coach, every team will have one coach go in and rank the top three regionals that you would like to participate in. I encourage every coach to select three different regionals just in case. There is no benefit to picking the same regional three times. Basically, I will ignore the second and third choices. And then if you need to be assigned somewhere, you may get assigned somewhere you really don't want to go. Now, all that being said, I certainly don't mean to scare anybody, but we do, let's see, the last couple of years, we're right at 91% assigning teams their first preference. So, again, to go through the full process, to make sure you've got your bases covered, please select three unique tournaments to participate in. Again, with the vast majority will get their top choice. What ends up happening is if you choose one of the later regionals, those tend to get oversubscribed. I'll let you do the coaching thought process through that. And so those are the teams that typically get reassigned to their second or possibly third choice. We are capping some of our tournaments this year because one, they're new, or two, they actually have capacity constraints. And so therefore, if we get 40 teams sign up and they only have capacity for 20, and when I say sign up, I mean is the first choice. If they only have capacity for 24, then obviously 16 teams are going to have to, we're going to have to look at their second and or third choices. The other times that teams don't get their first choice, if they have requests that say, I'm coming with 6 teams, can we all go to the same tournament? And I will do my best to make sure that happens, but it may not be your first choice. So when you do your ranking, your preferences, you also will have an opportunity to tell me, are there any special circumstances that you have, why you have to attend a certain one versus the other ones? We can't travel more than an hour. We can't participate on Sundays. The other one is I got 6 teams. We want all of them going to the same one. I believe last year I had one. I got 6 teams, but I don't want them all going to the same one. Can you split them up? So the requests come in all different shapes and sizes. And at least so far, we've been pretty lucky that we can meet those specific requests. As I mentioned previously, and as you saw in the newsletter, we are having a later regional, the Gold of My Year in Milwaukee. And that one also is going to be relatively small. It is on a Sunday. That is December
14th?
14th.
14th, Sunday, December 14th. And we are going to try and keep that to not technically rookie teams, but in the broader sense, really young teams that are really just getting started with the program. You may be a veteran team on first database, but maybe all your kids are brand new. All right, so to me, that's still a rookie team. The other group that we're holding those spots for are teams that get started late. I was just telling Brian and Jay, we were running about 6% registered teams above last year, which isn't so bad. But then down the stretch of September, early October, there's always a handful of teams that, and I get emails, we want to do it, but are we late to the party? Well, we're trying to give them an opportunity to participate. So to make a long story short, if you are placing Gold of My Year as your top preference, please use the space provided to tell us why that needs to be your first preference. So then we can, try to meet the goal of what we're trying to do with that particular regional. Thank you all for respecting that wish. Any questions about the registration process, which will begin next Tuesday?
I have one that I didn't hear you address. Is there any advantage to signing up immediately as soon as you can? Or is it kind of a...
No, there is no advantage to signing up early. The window will remain open for 3 weeks, and I'll go in and kind of look to see where people are requesting and compare that to how the tournament directors have given me their capacity. But I'm not going to start assigning anybody until the 3 week window is over. So there's no advantage to signing up early. If a team does not register, forgets, doesn't get, or just whatever, it hasn't even formed in time to register during this 3 week window, they still can participate, but they'll have to email me. We'll have to find the best option where there's capacity. So they just won't get their, they might not get their top preference, but it still will be open to anybody. So following the 3 week window, I'll take a couple days, see what we got, map it out against the constraints that the tournament directors gave me for their particular event. And then the assignment emails will go out. I'm hoping to get that done within a couple days. It really just comes down to how complicated the 5-dimensional chess becomes. So I'm giving myself a full week. Hopefully I'll get it out earlier than that.
I have a question about signing up. Last year, I think there was a place posted that said, if you sign up for this event and you move forward, your next one will be on this date. Do we know what those are in advance?
That was not last year. That was probably 2 or 3 years ago. And the answer is no. I haven't assigned a certain regional destined for a certain sectional. The reason for that is because one, I don't know what the first preferences are going to be. And if we start making those lines, we could have one sectional with 20 teams and we could have one sectional with 40. So that, we won't know until people tell us what their regional preference is. The second reason is, or the last couple of years, if there are issues, a team that advances that can't participate in the sectional that their regional was assigned to, we can always make exceptions and move them around. It would not be my preference to do it. I don't want to. I prefer not to hear reasons. Well, we need an extra week. That's not gonna fly.
Everybody does.
But if yeah, right, everybody needs another week, right? But if your kids have if they have a Christmas play, pageant, some holiday thing, and you're going to be missing half your team, all right, fine, I get it. That works. If you're going to be out of town, we've had that before. So these are real constraints that prevent teams from participating in the sectional that they moved on to. So yes, we can move teams around. And this
Thank
year,
you.
all the sectional, yeah, all the
Thank you.
sectionals are on a Saturdays. Mukwonago on the 13th, and Waukesha and Oak Creek are on the 20th, all Saturdays.
And are you guys concerned at all with the amount of teams registered and how many locations can take large numbers? I guess when I was looking at the schedule, I was thinking, I was a little shocked that Mukwonago wasn't, one of the first ones because they held so many kids at one of their events. So I was just curious if that was already taken into account of how many teams each place can handle.
We have enough capacity for 330 teams. So I think we're comfortable overall. Specifically to Mukwonago, they just decided they just want to do a sectional this year. So fortunately, we have the Pewaukee folks that stepped up and basically filled a lot of that geographic space. But Pewaukee being a new tournament, I'm also going to limit the number of teams that are at that particular event. So yes, it's nothing's as straightforward as it seems, but we're working all the different angles.
There, so
Got
there,
it.
there
Thank
are
you.
there are certain places that can take more. So if your question is, are we concerned that not going to have the capacity for teams that sign up, we'll work something out. I mean, there are certainly places that we can get more into if we have to.
Awesome. Nope, I was just
Brian will take everybody
curious.
at
Thank
Waukesha.
you. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and to be perfectly honest, I've been to quite a few tournaments over the last 3 years, and I believe that the optimal experience for the kids is 20 to 24 teams. If it's kind of lower than that, you don't get that full excitement feel out of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, 16 team tournaments are great, but a little larger would be nice. And then I've been to 30 plus tournaments where it gets kind of chaotic, and then some of the kids are overwhelmed with everything that's going on. So that's just my general view. If anybody else has different views, you're more than welcome to share it.
I've been to tournaments that had a lot of teams, and I agree with you. I think the mid-20s is a good. I mean, to me, being there and seeing all the teams, and I like the 20s. 24, 26, 28. That feels.
It's kind of
good to
nice
me.
overall.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at tournaments with 60 teams before. It's
we've
not
both
fun.
been at the 60 teams, and they're a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, they have an excitement and energy that way too, but if you're looking at the experience for the kids, I think the that 20 to 24 is a nice number.
The other constraint is not just size of the facility. In fact, that's usually not the constraint. A lot of times it's the number of volunteers. And in the case of our tournaments, it's really judges and referees, the quote unquote skilled positions. Sometimes it's hard to get the right number for the number of teams that are there. So actually, while I bring it up, I'll make the pitch. Every year, coaches will ask, what can I do to be better for my team? And my answer, and I think Brian will corroborate this, come judge, volunteer to judge at a tournament that you're not participating in. Go through the process, find out what the judges talk about, how you're supposed to, how they go through the rubrics and grade, what are the details they're looking for, and then obviously the discussions that go on in the judge deliberations. We can't talk about them in public. You have to be there to experience it and understand it. So, hands down, the best advice I can give to a coach to help their team, if they are interested in advancing, is volunteer to be a judge.
Even the referee agrees with that. I tell everybody all the time that's the number one thing you can do is judge. So much rides on the judging that it's not just a robot competition. So from somebody that's a referee forever, I always tell everyone that's the number one thing you can do. So absolutely. Get someone on your team. Even if the coach can't, get a mentor, get a assistant coach, get somebody judging, get somebody. I mean, if you have extra people, get somebody in the ref crew as well. But judging is to understand the rubrics, it's key. You have to know what you're doing. I mean, it's absolutely.
It was fun.
I'm guessing all of 75% of the scoring criteria, advancement criteria, ranking process, 75% is in the judging room. And 25% is at the robot table.
Sandy agrees. So, do it. It's super helpful. Yeah, see, Sandy says so. So there you go.
All right. Well, we'll keep preaching that the entire season, especially as we approach the actual regionals. First one being November 1st, if I remember correctly. Saturday, November 1st in Appleton. All right. The other any other questions about the registering for a regional, judging, volunteering to be a judge? All right. Obviously, go to chat and we can always address it later. The other item that I want to emphasize is every year I get requests from parents of individual free agents, is kind of what we call them. I'm frustrated to say my batting average of assigning these kids is 0. And I really would like to break that losing streak. So this year, if you saw in the newsletter, we now have a web page of 5 kids that are looking for teams. They're all code names with a little bit of demographic information, so we're all good there. But if any of you coaches, or if you know any other teams that might have capacity to take on another child, another participant, please email me, because I'm getting emails from those parents, and so far I don't have any good news for them. So I will probably take that down mid-October. By that time, if it doesn't happen, it's probably not going to. But nonetheless, if you can take a look at it and pass it on to anybody that might have capacity, that would be amazing. All right. That's it from me, I believe. I obviously will be around to take more questions if there are any. Brian, what do you got from the judging perspective?
Judging perspective, one question came in this week that I thought I'd bring up. Came in through Slack, having a little debate on our team. How is the project plan defined for the judges? And then they're talking about the design criteria, and that's actually the design criteria of the innovation project. And one of the other coaches, who's also, by the way, also a judge, replied back very succinctly. I kind of like it. How did the team get from a blank sheet to where they are demonstrating in the room? So if you think about it, any project that's successful tends to have a plan behind it. So, having the kids articulate kind of what that plan is. The younger teams will have, typically a high level plan. The more advanced teams will have more detailed one. There's no prescribed, you got to use this project management methodology, but just something to show how you got from A to B.
I'll just point out in chat that Craig was corrected. He did place 2 kids last year, so.
Hey, Brian. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure I put that question in Slack, so thank you for bringing
Yes.
it up. Can you
Yes, you did.
just can you just elaborate on the difference between demonstrating iterations in their design and their innovation project and illustrating a project plan getting from A to B? I think they are tending, when the kids are coming up with it right now, they're tending to overlap each other. And I just want to make sure they're on the right track, or I should articulate or push them in a different direction.
So, a project plan is kind of if you think about it, you sit down and, when things kick off and say, okay, we got to have this done by this date kind of approach, right? And kind of what's our plan, how we're going to get there? What are those steps, if you think about it that way? So that's kind of the bigger part of the project plan, right? And then the iteration, think about your project or think about your robot, right? How do you know when you're done? Okay, and those iterations. And in the case of project, iterations might each have their own definition of done, where your robot, its attachment testing or whatever, that might have, those might have a very concrete definition of done that's, can be reused more frequently than the other ones. Because if you're iterating your project, your goal is to get this part done, right? So, that's kind of where you kind of set your goals for where you are. So hopefully that helps. If that helped, or you need. Okay.
Nope, that's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep.
So, John, we will get to your question here in a minute. We'll let Brian and Craig finish up with what they're doing, and then we'll get into robot game stuff. So just hold tight.
Yeah, the only thing, I would second is Craig's comment about judging. It is, I think it's an eye opener for a lot of coaches to be in the room, and we put you with experienced judges, so you're not the only, it's not a room full of brand new judges, untrained. There's training, and we basically partner you with experienced judges, and it really helps to start to think of what they're looking for, how they're looking for it, and kind of helping you calibrate what's a 3 looking like, what's a 2, okay, and having those interesting conversations about what a 4 is, and what that exceeds is. So highly recommend it.
Also, with today's newsletter, also there is a link to a BadgerBots webpage that has judging Q&A as well as tips from the refs. And this is specific information from, well, in the case of the Q&A, it's Brian and Brian, and tips from the refs comes directly from Jay and Allison. So pay attention to those documents. They're going to be updated periodically, and we will notify you of that in the newsletter. But there's another resource of letting you know what the Brain Trust is thinking and how the season is going to progress. So pay attention to those. At least I would recommend you do so. All right. If nothing else for Brian, then let's talk about the robot game.
Okay.
Jay?
Nothing new for releases this week, but I'm actually going to jump right back to what you just said about the tips. So just so you guys know that tips from the refs, that came directly from our head referee meeting that we had. It's about a 2-hour meeting that we have with all the tournament head referees. We go through and hash out, any tricky calls that we can think of, any questions that we can think of, we know we're going to be answering. And so Allison did a real good job of putting together a lot of the tips and stuff that we kind of discussed and how we would rule those that aren't necessarily obvious when you read a rule book. So definitely go take a look at that stuff. There's some good stuff in there. So that's actually going to be our Bible for the year. We're going to have that on all of our tablets and, go and discuss how we decided we were going to do this. Okay. So again, no questions really came in. I'm trying to think of anything I need to share with you guys. No updates. I'll answer John's question. So he's asking for mission 4. Does the team still score 10 points for both support structure standing, even if the mission isn't attempted? John, you are correct. That is one that is automatic points unless the structure is down. Okay. And the way you read those, whenever you have multiple scoring criteria, they're separated by criteria and condition. So if there's a condition that one thing be done before the next one can score, it'll say bonus. So it'll say, for instance, my number 3, it'll say your team's mine card is on the opposing field's only opposing field. There's 30 points, and then it says bonus and the opposing team. So in order to get the 10 extra points, it says bonus. Otherwise, when they're separated into just 2 separate line items, they are actually 2 separate items. And that is one of the ones, I think the only one, other than the precision tokens, that's an automatic scoring this year. Sure. So with that, any questions about Robot Game?
Yeah, I had one. I don't know if this is been asked already. Sorry, I haven't been able to make these. But for mission, hold on one sec. Mission 10.
Okay.
Mission 10. We were just seeing. We haven't actually gotten any points on it or scored anything like that yet. But we were noticing it's hard to see the setup on it and like the bucket with the stick pointing down. Sometimes we notice that like, if you pull the carriage out from underneath, that like the bucket would flip up. We couldn't quite narrow down like what it was to make it do that. And I'm not sure. I think there's like little pieces in there that like have the green resting part, right? That flaps down. Either sits on top of those brown things or it sits behind those brown things. Sorry, it's hard to explain, but that was just something that we kind of noticed. Like every once in a while we'd pull it out and the bucket would tip. Now, I'm not like points wise, I don't really care. I just more like what is kind of more the expected behavior? Like, should we expect it to do that?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a good question. So I have my field kit put together, but I haven't gone through and numerous repetitions on everything. So probably a good venue here is to ask some of the coaches here if they have seen that issue as well. Because all I know is how my individual set is, and I haven't really I'm not even hitting the silo hard enough to break it. I know a lot of people are having issues with that one.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't have a robot to go through these. So if anybody else wants to jump in there and maybe let Chris see what you guys are seeing with 10. We found our pan sticks if we don't drop the bucket first. Thank you, Peggy.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, we kind of had that. The pan. There's 2 spots where the pan could possibly start. So it can be answered in Slack too. We don't have to answer it tonight, but just something to think about. Like it seems like you can push it in further or not as far. And there's it's really like the angle in the manual, the angle on the build, like it all covers up where that stick, where that like green top ends up. Sure. So we can put some pictures up or wherever else in the Slack, but that's just something that we kind of noticed and we're like, I don't know what it. I assume pulling it out shouldn't tip the bucket according to the video, right? But it seems to happen, so I don't know if we're setting it up wrong.
I will. I'll take a look as well and play around with it, a few times and see if I can see anything that looks out of the ordinary. Because, ironically enough, all of my missions seem to work like they show in the video, and I know that some people are having issues with some of them. There was another one that had a build that was really tight. What was that one? uh, even some of the more experienced teams, I'm trying to remember which model it was, if they didn't have it placed down exactly, I mean, within a fraction of an inch, it was binding on them.
Wow. Okay.
And I think Peggy, did you guys had an issue with that one? You know what I'm talking about? Remember which mission that was? Number 2. Thank you. So if you're having an issue with
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
with number 2 sticking or not working properly, maybe pick it up and put it back down. Make sure you're on the wireframe there.
Yeah, that one had a good one, and that's I think in the update PDF,
Yeah,
right? That one
right.
was yeah. Make
But
sure you're
so,
very good
so
with that.
even after that came out, we were still having some teams having issues with that. So don't just
Yeah.
assume. And we had teams tearing their models apart and rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding, and it is very it's very particular as to where it needs to go. So just before you tear it down and assume it's not built properly, I mean certainly look it over, but adjust it out or in a little bit and make sure you're in the wireframe. And I am aware of the silo issues. So for those of you that may not know that yet, you will know it soon. Apparently, if you are working the silo quite a bit, every 15, 20 hits on the silo, one of the pins or something tends to get loose and you got to tighten it up. So that's something we'll have to deal with on the tables. We'll have to make sure our field resetters and our referees are making sure we tighten that down after every match. I don't think they're going to issue a rebuild on that. So what's that, Michael?
I thought on mission 10, it's more of a order of operation. You have to drop the bucket before you can pull the pan.
Yeah, I think that's what Peggy said too.
For the bucket, you always get jammed.
Yeah, see that's not happening for us. So maybe we just have it built wrong.
It's possible.
Maybe that is like I would see that being a more correct, thing, right? Where like you would be forced to do it in a certain order.
Right.
So yeah, it's probably just us then. That's cool.
And Trevor, I have not seen reports about the silo exploding, so that's the first one there. I have heard that one of the pins gets loose, and so it doesn't stay properly squeezed together. But I'm pretty sure it should not be exploding, especially all over the room. I mean, how hard are you guys whacking that thing, man?
It was when I was trying to push it onto the Velcro, and I pushed down. I just must have pushed wrong, and it like turned into like a catapult trebuchet combo.
Nice.
I mean, think 15 feet it launched pieces. I don't know how I managed.
All right. You guys got the spring in the wrong place, probably. Okay, just kidding. There's no spring in the model. I'm just joking. Don't go looking for a spring in the model. There's not one in there.
Last
Any
thing we
other
need
questions
is,
on specific missions?
That silo is dangerous, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm aware. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, and just another one. It's not a question. It's more of an announcement for anybody that's confused. I know when we had the mission 12 on the table, the kids were like, "What is the sand being cleared?" Because if you do the boat first, the sand doesn't actually, like fall the way it does, and there's a boat there. Yep. But it's in the rules. It literally just says it's completely cleared when the activators pass the line. Yeah. Just in case anybody's missed that. Yeah, I know we did it first.
That's very good. I appreciate you bringing that up. We did mention that on a previous call, but it actually does. It's a good one to mention again. So as Chris was just mentioning, so for mission 12 where it says sand is completely cleared, it's your first criteria. The blue text underneath says sand is considered completely clear when the pull activator is past the line. So it doesn't really matter where the sand is. So don't worry about where the sand is physically located. If your pull lever is past the line, that's your scoring criteria. And again, that has two different scoring criterias and they're separate. So if by chance you can raise the ship completely without clearing the sand, you can get the 10 points without the 20 points. Any other observations or questions we want to share? Or... Okay, that was easy enough.
Good. Any other questions, comments, concerns from anyone? Any topic? Well, FLL challenge related, please.
Put a plug out there for the scrimmages coming up. So the Waukesha scrimmage is released today. So, again, highly recommended. New teams, especially. It's a great opportunity to, get before judges and referees and kind of get a lay of the land and understand how things go. There's other scrimmages going on. I know there's one up in Fox Valley area. I think San Diego one right there, right? So highly recommend getting to a scrimmage, especially for the newer teams. All teams, it's beneficial for all teams, but for the rookie teams, highly recommended.
Yeah, so that's a really good experience for especially rookie teams, like you're saying, because your kids get to meet us. Like, they actually get to see the referees, the head referees, the judges that they're going to see during competitions. So, they get in these rooms and they get on the tables, and we make an extra effort to make sure that these kids, they understand that we're there for them. We'll talk to them. We'll help them out as much as we can. They're not as scared. Once you get a rookie team and throw them in front of a bunch of judges, they can get kind of nervous. But Brian's guys do a real good job over there of walking them through, kind of hand holding a little bit, but still giving them good judging feedback in the experience. So we've had nothing but good feedback from that. I would plug Twist, but they're full already. So, Allison, I'm not ignoring Twist. I just know you guys are full. So
yeah, so I didn't bring Twist up.
Yep.
The other thing to keep in mind is it's early. We know that. Okay, come anyways, even if you're not ready. We get it, because you can get feedback on where you are. Okay, we've had teams come in with still trying to figure out what their project is. We've had teams come in with kind of some ideas, and we just talk through it with the judges there instead. Other ones are ready to come in and do a early on presentation, so it's rough, and that's okay. They can get feedback for it from the judges, and the great time on the table with the refs to really understand what it's like to run, because a run matches like they would at a competitions. They get a feel for that. They can ask them scoring questions. It's also a great time to just sit and work. While the table's set up, and you come, work on missions and just see what other teams are doing and how they're solving problems. One of the great things about first teams help first teams.
absolutely. And so the way we usually do things at Waukesha as well, we'll have a couple tables that are kind of practice tables, and then we'll actually have some where the referees are running matches for you, like actual time matches. So if you're not ready, if you feel like you're not ready to do a bunch of stuff, just come on out anyway. And like Brian said, check out the other teams, because if you're having trouble like understanding how a line follow or a gyro works, these guys are there, and there's some great teams there, and they're always more than willing to help out. So come out and run some matches, even if you don't want to do don't want to do time matches. Just come out and put your robot down and run one mission. It's fine. We like to see you. All right, we'll plug
Anything else?
the Slack channel real quick. So during the week, if you guys can always email Craig if you need something. Just reply back to the same email he sends the newsletter out to. And then you can always get a hold of us on the Slack channel. If you guys, I think there's a link to that, or a way to get to that through the newsletter. There's a referee channel there. There's a judge channel there. There's coaches channels there. All kinds of different channels. So we're usually pretty responsive to the questions over there. We have day jobs, so we're not always immediately able to answer, but we answer you guys as quickly as we can. So. All right.
Anything else? Going once, twice. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. Give Jay a day or two to get it up to our YouTube YouTube channel. And we'll be back here again next Monday. So
Thank you.
good night,
We'll see
everybody.
some people this weekend.
Yep. See ya.